The police officer caught on video using apparently fatal force against George Floyd, an unarmed black man, has been arrested less than a day after protests against police brutality spread across the country. Floyd died after the officer's actions. In Minneapolis, demonstrators set fire to the police precinct where the white officer who arrested Floyd was stationed. The protests calling for justice for Floyd had started out peacefully in Minneapolis on Monday after a video of his death went viral.
Until white people decide we're free, we're not free. Because guess what? You still hold the majority power.
But tensions rose on Wednesday afternoon. Protesters threw objects at police cars, and officers responded with rubber bullets and tear gas. Since then, several buildings and vehicles have been set on fire. Businesses were also looted during the unrest.
What the man? You just taking advantage of this.
Anti-fascists and anarchists appeared to have been involved. City officials tried to keep the peace Thursday.
You have every absolute right to be angry, to be upset, to be mad, to express your anger. However, you have no right to perpetrate violence and harm on the very communities that you say that you are standing up for.
But the unrest continued into the early hours of Friday. The National Guard is now being deployed to the city, which is under a state of emergency. On Friday morning, President Trump threatened violence against looters on Twitter. His tweet was partially censored because it violated the platform's rules about glorifying violence. Floyd's death was felt around the country, and protests in some other cities also became violent. Protesters raging against Floyd's death also called for justice in other recent deaths of unarmed black people, including Breonna Taylor, an EMT who was shot in her Kentucky home during a police raid, and Ahmaud Arbery, who was shot in Georgia while jogging. Last night, at least 7 people were shot in Louisville protests. The source of the gunfire is unknown. The police denied firing shots. In Denver, video of a driver hitting a protester emerged. Shots were also fired in that city, but no injuries have been reported. And in New York, more than 40 people were arrested during protests. Chauvin and the 3 other officers involved in Floyd's arrest were fired shortly after Floyd's death. Chauvin has been charged with third-degree murder and manslaughter. This wasn't the first time the Twin Cities have been the site of a widely criticized police killing of a black man. In 2016, Philando Castile was fatally shot by an officer during a routine traffic stop in St. Paul, a case that also sparked national outcry. The officer in that case was acquitted of all charges. More protests are expected this weekend.